In the last lesson, we learned how to declare and initialize a variable, like integer score equals 100. But what happens if your score isn't 100? What if it's 100.5? If you try to do this, your program will either fail or, worse, produce bizarre results. Why? Because C is an extremely strict language. A variable declared as an integer, cannot hold a decimal point. A variable designed for a number cannot hold a single letter. If you choose the wrong data type, your program will break. This is the most fundamental concept in C you must master. Welcome to Lesson 2.02. Today, we are mastering the basic data types. These are the essential building blocks for storing any kind of information. We will cover the three most essential types you will use every single day. Integers. Float/double, decimals. Char, characters. Understanding these is the key to storing your data correctly and efficiently. First, integers. First, the one we already know, int. Int stands for integer. It is used to store whole numbers with no decimal points. They can be positive, negative, or 0. When you use int, you are telling the computer to reserve a specific amount of memory, usually 4 bytes, dedicated only to whole numbers. Second, float and double, floating point numbers. But what about numbers with decimals like 19.99 or 3.14159? For that, C gives us float and double. Float stands for floating point number. This is how C stores numbers with decimal points. So what is double? Double is just a double precision float. It means it takes up more memory, usually 8 bytes instead of 4 for a float, but it can store much larger decimal numbers and is far more precise. It can hold many more digits after the decimal point. Rule of thumb. If you need high precision, like for scientific calculations, always use double. If you are just storing simple data like a price, float is often fine. Third, char, characters. Finally, what about non-numeric data like a single letter or a symbol? For this, we use char. Char stands for character. It is designed to store exactly one single character. And this syntax is crucial. To initialize a char, you must use single quotes, not double quotes. Fourth, the size of operator, how memory differs. How do we know they use different amounts of memory? C gives us a special operator called sizeof. This operator tells us exactly how many bytes a data type reserves. If we write a quick program to print these sizes, we can see the difference. This confirms that double is twice the size of float, and int takes many times the memory of a char. To summarize, int for whole numbers, float and double for decimals, and char for single characters. These variables are powerful because their values can change. But what if you have a value that you never want to change? For example, the value of pi, 3.14159, or the number of days in a week. If you store that in a variable, you might accidentally change it, which would break your program. For that, we need constants. Click on the next video to watch Lesson 2.03, Constants. Using the const keyword and hashtag define.